As the United States strives to close out a deal to end the war in Ukraine, a Bloomberg report has made startling claims. It appears to point to the origins of a Trump-endorsed 28-point proposal that was widely seen as favoring Moscow, requiring Ukraine to make significant territorial concessions and pledge not to join the NATO. It states that U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff advised a senior Kremlin official on how President Putin should present a proposal to his U.S. counterpart Trump. The global media company published transcripts of the discussion between Witkoff and Yuri Ushakov, Putin's foreign policy advisor, after reviewing what it claims was a recording of a phone call between the two. It, however, gave no indication of how the recording was acquired. According to the transcript, during the call that took place on 14th of October, Witkoff said that he believes Russia has always wanted a peace deal and that he has the deepest respect for President Putin. The U.S. envoy advised Ushakov that Putin should flatter Trump during a call scheduled for 2 days later, complimenting him over the then recently concluded Gaza ceasefire. He asked him to tell Trump that he respects him as a man of peace and that he is glad to have seen the ceasefire happen. Witkoff also suggested the creation of a 20-point peace plan for Ukraine, just like Gaza, and urged that Putin brings it up with Trump. The phone call between Trump and Putin took place on 16th of October, with the U.S. president describing it as very productive and subsequently questioning Kyiv's push for Tomahawk missiles just a day before hosting Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. The plan has since been replaced by one taking in more of Ukraine's interest. Witkoff is to travel to Moscow next week to discuss the new version with Putin. Witkoff, who is the U.S. Special Envoy to West Asia, is taking greater roles amid reports that U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, is leaving his post in January. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, Trump said he hadn't heard the tape, but called it a very standard form of negotiation. When asked if he is concerned Witkoff is too pro-Russian, the president reacted like this.
Go on for years, and Russia's got a lot more people, got a lot more soldiers, you know. So I think if Ukraine can make a deal, it's a good thing. I think it's great for both. Frankly, I think it's great for both.
While Witkoff has not commented on the issue, Ushakov called the alleged leak an attempt to hinder the search for peace in Ukraine. He admitted speaking to Witkoff a lot, but said the conversations are not public. Joining us from Paris is Mr. Joachim Bitterlich. Is a former German ambassador to NATO and former European diplomatic and security advisor to German Chancellor Helmut Kohl. Ambassador, thank you very much for your time. What do you make of the leak where Witkoff appears to be coaching the Russians? Trump defended Witkoff, saying he was doing what a deal maker does to sell the peace plan to both Russia and Ukraine.
Well, understandable, but it seems clear, not only through this leak, but when we look at the content of the 28 points of this paper, that it's more, let's say, in the Russian sense than in Ukrainian one. And it's excellent that the Europeans and the Ukrainians have been succeeding in, let's say, correcting to some extent this paper. The new one, I don't know, the latest version now, on 19 points only. And as a basis for negotiations, as a beginning for negotiations. Mm-hmm. When you look at what Ushakov has been telling, serious analysis is needed, yes. It's no more, let's say, that simplified peace plan. But many things in these negotiations, and it's regrettable, these leaks, is tactics in, and how to get the Russians at the table. And this is a real difficulty, because up till now, I do not see a real Russian interest to give in. I don't see the Russians, let's say, in a situation where they're obliged to some extent to give in and to make, let's say, to make the deal. Mm-hmm. The Russians are making not much progress, yes. On the other hand, it's true, the Ukrainians are tired, young people especially, and therefore there's a certain interest on the Ukrainian side, let's say, to get at least a ceasefire and to enter into real negotiations. But we are, let's say, not in these negotiations yet. We have to get, let's say, the Russians at the table. And it's perhaps a certain, let's say, tactics from Witkoff to get Dmitriev and Ushakov, let's say, nearer, let's say, to the advice to Putin, let's now negotiate, really. And up till now, frankly spoken, I have doubts whether the Russians really intend to give in. Their goal remains, let's say, to stop Ukraine, a liberal, a free Ukraine, and to make out of Ukraine a sort of second Belarus, at least, to get the control of Ukraine. It's still the goal for Russians. Let's see how, let's say, the American, I do not call this a strategy, or these tactics work or not.
All right, let's see.
I'm skeptical to some extent.
All right, let's see what happens when Steve Witkoff meets President Putin, because he's expected to go to Russia next week. Ambassador, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for talking to us today.
A pleasure as always.